Seizing Pakistan's nuclear weapons. The observation post, observing the light as it slices through the darkness. Welcome to the Observation Post channel. I'm your host Salim Akhtar Malik. Observation Post is dedicated to discussing issues of national and international importance. Before we proceed further, I request you to please subscribe to this channel. It is free. In this session, we'll be talking about the possibility of United States taking control of Pakistan's nuclear weapons. There is a strong lobby in the West which calls for taking control of Pakistan's nuclear assets because it thinks or it perceives that Pakistan is a highly volatile and fragile state and is thus a threat to world peace. To reinforce their case, they parrot the Indian propaganda that Pakistan is located at the epicenter of global terrorism. Now, in 2011, Goldberg and Embender, two American journalists, had written an article in which they had expressed their apprehension about Pakistan's nuclear program. They had written that Pakistan is a Muslim state, and out of 50 or so other Muslim states, it is the only one which has developed nuclear weapons and will therefore be an obvious choice for an Islamic militant organization seeking nuclear weapons or fissile material. They gave many other reasons also for defanging Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. For example, they said that Pakistan had in the past exported nuclear technology to rogue states such as North Korea and Iran. There were at least 6 instances during that period when the Jihadist organizations located inside Pakistan had attacked facilities which were being used as storage sites for nuclear weapons and fissile material. There is a possibility of an accidental launch of a nuclear bomb during a period of heightened tension between India and Pakistan. Also, rogue elements or the perceived rogue elements inside Pakistan army may take it upon themselves to launch a nuclear attack against India. Now, having read out the charge sheet against Pakistan's nuclear program, Goldberg and Embender next described Pentagon's plans to deal with the situation. They wrote that in 2005, during a Senate hearing on confirmation of Condoleezza Rice as the next Secretary of State of the United States, Condoleezza was reported to have been said that the United States has taken cognizance of the situation and is prepared to take action against it as and when required, or the words to the effect. Now, there can be two contingencies which on which the American planners have worked. In the first contingency, a single nuclear weapon or two or three nuclear weapons, along with a little amount of fissile material, may go missing, stolen by one of the jihadist outfits. In that event, the response of the United States military will be similar to what they did to snuff out Osama bin Laden from his hideout in Abbottabad. In the second instance, or second eventuality, they would like to get control of, or at least disable, the entire Pakistani nuclear arsenal in case a jihadist militant organization takes over the central government. The scale of such an operation will be too large, and the campaign will be led by the United States Central Command. So, in case of a takeover by a jihadist organization, United States military will respond by employing their 20th support group, whose nuclear disarmament teams, accompanied by special services detachments or marine companies, will rush into the country, crossing borders, rappelling down helicopters, and parachuting from military planes to take control of the suspected nuclear storage sites. Their immediate targets will be Pakistan's tactical nuclear weapons, because these can be easily mated and moved around. So this is the situation, and this is what they are planning for. Now, Pakistan many times in the past has openly expressed, even officially expressed, that its nuclear program is India-centric, and this aspect is silently acknowledged by Israel also. Israel considers Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat to the Jewish state, but it has not cast any such aspersion against Pakistan's nuclear program, or at least not said so openly. In 1980, there was a joint Indo-Israeli plan to launch an operation against Pakistan's Kahuta uranium enrichment facility. But the plan could not come to fruition because at the last moment, India chickened out and refused to allow Israeli planes to land at India's Jamnagar Air Base, Indian Air Force Air Base at Jamnagar, for refueling and maintenance purposes. And then Israelis also did not press for it. So the attack never took place. However, sometime in the future, the United States might conclude through its own calculations that the Pakistani nuclear program and its nuclear arsenal is as dangerous to the American interests and to the interests of its allies, particularly India and Israel, that a military operation against Pakistan will be in order. In that eventuality, the United States will launch a large scale military operation against Pakistan's nuclear facility, as I have just now described. And the American military action or the military operation will be similar to the one which the United States military is contemplating against Iran. So, before proceeding further, it will be beneficial if we discuss what the Americans are planning and contemplating to act upon against Iran's nuclear program before we draw conclusions or draw parallels with Pakistan. Now, in case of Iran, the United States military action will most probably be based on air power because after its experiences in Iraq and in Afghanistan, the Americans do not have the stomach to let their forces get embroiled in ground actions in enemy territories, particularly in a country as large as Iran. But there are two problems. The air action against Iran's military installations will destroy many of the nuclear facilities which Iran has built, but some facilities will survive. And then Iran has, over a period of time, decentralized its command and control structure, which facilitates its forces to continue operating in the absence of a central authority in case the central government in Iran ceases to exist. So, these two, that is, the likelihood of some facilities remaining intact and the decentralization of Iran's command and control apparatus will not make the United States military action succeed. And in any case, the real threat lies not in the nuclear weapons, but in the brains and knowledge of the Iranian engineers who will resurrect the nuclear program in due course of time. So, what to do? How to break this impasse or logjam? To deal with such an eventuality, the United States military has evolved what they call the effects based operation. It is basically a form of air warfare which employs a combination of military and non military methods to achieve a desired result or to achieve a desired effect. Iran is an urbanized country, and its population depends upon critical nodes in its electricity, communications, military, and industrial networks. Now, an effects-based operation will destroy the critical nodes in Iran's national networks. And how it will do? It will do it through weapons which are called electromagnetic pulse bombs. Now, an electromagnetic pulse bomb is a weapon which uses a large and intense electromagnetic field to create a pulse of electromagnetic energy which affects the circuitry of electronic devices and corrupts the computer data. Now, the American electromagnetic bombs are not bombs. These can be likened to very high intensity microwave ovens, which can produce a beam of intense electromagnetic energy to destroy enemies' critical networks from the air. These can also be mounted on cruise missiles. So this is how they intend destroying Iran's nuclear program. No, simultaneously, that is, along with launching their weapons to destroy Iran's critical networks, the Americans will also arm and abet, that is, they will support the Iranian groups which are fighting since long to gain independence from the central authority. And these are the Baluchis, Kurds, and Azeris, etc. This will result in shutting down the country and splitting it up into uh, independent zones. As a result, the central authority will collapse and there will be a regime change. The new rulers that replace the Ayatollahs will be pliant. According to the American calculations, they will be pliant and will succumb to American demands to surrender their nuclear weapons. Now, this is not something out of a fiction novel. This has actually happened in the past. And Americans have cajoled and coerced in the past governments of Libya's Gaddafi and South Africa, as well as Ukraine and also Kazakhstan, to give up their nuclear weapons in return for some intensive. In the case of Libya, these intensives were to lift the sanctions, American sanctions against Libya, and some financial incentives for Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and South Africa were also given. But there is a problem, and the problem is that learning its lessons from the Gulf War, that is the first Gulf War, Iranians have, I have also already stated, they have dispersed their nuclear facilities and decentralized their command and control apparatus. This will result in the American forces getting embroiled with the Iranian forces, which the Americans do not want. And hence, this operation will not succeed. Now, similarly, in case of Pakistan, the power is shared between the political leadership and the military. And the military is also the keeper of the Holy Grail, that is the nuclear arsenal of Pakistan. So, ultimately, the American forces will also get embroiled with ground forces in Pakistan because Pakistan employs a complete army corps to protect its nuclear weapons. Hence, this will not come to fruition. They will not be able to seize Pakistan's nuclear weapons, even as they will not be able to seize Iran's nuclear weapons. Is Pakistan the only nuclear state which is threatening world peace through the perceived nuclear proliferation? We discuss now the case of Rosenbergs. Now, the observations about Pakistan's nuclear program are valid. Like any man made system, Pakistan's nuclear weapons security program is vulnerable to infiltration, sabotage, and thefts by non state actors, rogue elements within the armed forces, United States, India, and Israel. They had been trying to do just that when Pakistan established the enrichment plant at Kahuta. Throughout this period, Pakistani intelligence agencies remained busy neutralizing the sensors planted by the CIA and apprehending and roughing up or terminating the American, Indian, Israeli, and French agents. Due to terrorism, poverty, and political instability, both India and Pakistan are fragile states. Whereas the insurgencies in Pakistan's KPK and Balochistan provinces have been contained, Presently, there are 8 major insurgencies going on in India's northeastern states and Kashmir, whereas the insurgency in East Punjab is dormant, not quelled. So now we will discuss the Rosenbergs. The first major case of nuclear espionage and transfer of top secret information took place in 1953 in the United States. American citizens Julius Rosenberg and Ethel Greengrass Rosenberg were charged with and executed for treason and conspiracy to commit espionage relating to passing the blueprints of an atomic device to the Soviet Union. Many accomplices of Julius and Ethel who had made confessions about their crime were not executed. In his judgment on pronouncing the death sentence on Julius and Ethel, Judge Kaufman wrote, I consider your crime worse than murder. I believe your conduct in putting into the hands of the Russians the atomic bomb, years before our best scientists predicted Russia would perfect the bomb, has already caused, in my opinion, the communist aggression in Korea, with the resultant casualties exceeding 50,000. And who knows but that millions more of innocent people may pay the price of your treason. Indeed, you betrayed, your betrayal undoubtedly has altered the course of history to the disadvantage of your country. No one can say that we do not live in a constant state of tension. We have evidence of your treachery all around us every day. For the civil defense activities throughout the nation are aimed at preparing us for nuclear bomb. In his posthumously published autobiography, Khrushchev, the Prime Minister of the Soviet Union, remarked that he learned from Stalin and Molotov, the foreign minister, that the Rosenbergs had provided very significant help in accelerating the production of Russia's atomic bomb. We will next discuss Jonathan Pollard. The true extent of the United States top secret information provided by Pollard to Israel has never been revealed. Jonathan J. Pollard was an intelligence analyst at the Navy Field Operational Intelligence Office, an office of the Naval Intelligence Command. He was caught in 1985 and pleaded guilty to spying for and providing top secret classified information, including on nuclear matters, to Israel. Whenever asked to specify the details about Pollard's spying for Israel, the American authorities concerned always put marbles in their mouths. What has generally come to the fore mentions that he sold numerous closely guarded secrets, including the National Security Agency's 10-volume manual on how the US gathers its signal intelligence. However, what makes us suspect that Pollard leaked classified information on the naval component of the US nuclear triad, also to Israel, are the guarded pronouncements issued from time to time by persons like Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, former CIA Director General, Director George Tenet, and many others that the damage to US national security due to Pollard's espionage was far more severe, wide ranging, and enduring than publicly acknowledged. And have you heard about the Operation Plumbet? After the 1967 Arab Israeli War, France stopped supplying Israel with uranium fuel for the Dimona reactor. In 1968, Israel hijacked a ship between Antwerp and Genoa. The ship was carrying 200 tons of yellow cake, that is raw uranium. The Americans meekly said that this Mossad covert operation violated Euratom controls of nuclear materials. What was it if not nuclear piracy on the high seas? And this comes and this brings us rather to the end of this session. This article was researched and was based on the documents and articles as flashed on the screen. For the transcript of this video, contact Salim Akhtar 53 on Twitter. This is also free. So be seeing you now. Bye bye.